Hi, my name is Krause. I'm a combat mission battle for Normandy beta tester. And today I'm going to be doing a video AAR on improved feature of the game, which is the quick battle. In Combat Mission Shock Force, which precedes this game, there was no ability to build your own army. And the cool thing about the biggest difference in Normandy is that you can actually use a point system to buy your army. And it's way more flexible. You can create some really amazing combinations. And another feature is that you can also select the weather type and environmental conditions, and you can really make some epic battles on the fly in about 5 minutes. As you can see here, there's also a large selection of quick battle maps, ranging from open fields to bocage to forest, hills, small towns, villages, stream beds, big cities, and everything else under the sun. For purposes of this quick battle, I'm just going to do a forest. The main reason why is that I just want to show off one really cool feature of the game as well, which is entrenchments. And I just want an excuse to basically entrench my forces in the middle of a forest. So I'm going to be playing as the Americans. It's a defense mission. And right off the bat, if you're familiar with Shock Force, you'll note that this looks a lot like the editor, where you're selecting units to place down in like custom missions that you're making. Except in this screen, you're buying the units using a set amount of points, and it's not unlike the Steel Panther games. That sort of thing, where each unit in formation has a point value. You have a certain amount of points, and you just have to stay within your budget. There's also another limitation, and that is rarity. So you can't spend all your points on rare units. You have a budget for that. This way, the Orbat that you create isn't too unrealistic. And for purposes of this quick battle, I'm gonna be making an infantry battalion minus with a company of infantry, AT platoon, and getting some foxholes too, just so I can show you guys that new feature. And I'm going to be attacked by a superior force of Germans with a mixed composition. It's random what they're going to be picking. I didn't select their equipment for them. I could have, but I decided not to. They could be arriving and they could be a lot of infantry, could be mechanized infantry, armor. I just set it for mixed. And my force is entirely made of infantry. And if you noticed in the previous buying screen, there was limitations on what I could buy, which I imposed on myself. I think the heaviest thing I could buy was mechanized infantry, and everything else was grayed out, like tanks, for instance. And when you first start, you have this little automated briefing that gets created. And then overviewing the map, your units are sort of just randomly placed around. Oh, and here's the water effects. Some people on the forums are asking me to look at some water in the game, and there you are. You can also notice that it's raining. I set that as a mission parameter. And you can go all the way up to like a downpour, like a basically extremely heavy thunderstorm. I decided for light rain, this way it doesn't obstruct the view too much. And another thing that you guys were requesting on the forums was that I spend a lot more time at the ground level and slowly pay attention to the details, so I'm going to be doing that a lot more in this mission, even though that it is a walkthrough and a video AAR. So starting off, I have a company of light infantry, and I also have an anti-tank platoon, which is comprised of 3 57mm anti-tank guns.
Quiet down, let's get some noise discipline here.
And various company and battalion support elements. I also bought 20 foxholes, which you'll see in a moment. The coolest thing that I've found, one of the coolest features in this game, is that you can actually deploy entrenchments on the map, and then you can tell your guys to go into them. It's sort of like the pillboxes that were in Shock Force, except there's a lot more options. You can buy like fully rendered concrete bunkers, and they're extremely expensive to buy using the point system. You can get foxholes, you can get trenches, wire obstacles, hedgehogs. You can really make an interesting defense mission, create like pre-planned kill zones using wire and obstacles to funnel the enemy into a certain area. So what I'm going to be doing in this mission, let's talk about the tactics and plans for what I'm going to be doing here. So I have 3 rifle platoons in the company, and I also have a weapons platoon, which is basically 60mm mortars and also 30 caliber machine guns. So my idea is not to strong point the town itself, but I'm going to occupy these forested ridge lines surrounding the town and create a series of interlocking fire fields. So see here we have the foxholes. They're pretty much trenches that you can deploy, and if you tell your units to move into there, they occupy them naturally. So I'm going to be setting up my infantry in these foxholes. I could have bought wire as well, but I wanted to buy as many units as I could. And also the terrain of this particular level doesn't really suit wires too much. So the idea here is that the enemy is going to be cresting, coming down from the high ground on the north, and we're going to be engaging them from this tree line. You can see here the detail. It's pretty cool of the forest and the foxholes there. If you can fit in, basically it takes 2 foxholes to 2 groupings of foxholes to fit a rifle squad, to accommodate a rifle squad. Each individual foxhole holds 2 men, and there's 4 foxholes per grouping.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what I like to do is I can split the teams for the squad, break them into fire teams, and then I can spread them out along, spread them out over a wider area. Or if I want to have a lot of firepower in one area, I'll just put 2 foxholes or 2 fortifications side by side, and then just place the squad in the center. And they automatically distribute amongst the 2 groupings of foxholes. It's pretty cool.
Okay, Sergeant.
Oh, and one other thing. It's possible to preview the map before you actually buy your units, and that's really useful for defensive considerations, because, for instance, in this map, I probably should have bought mines, because there's only a few places where the enemy can cross into the town. There's a river running through the middle of it, and there's some fords there that I probably should have mined. And I would have known that, this is the first time I played this mission, but I would have known that if I previewed the map beforehand. And that's a setting in the quick battle screen. You can actually, you don't have to be hassled by trying to load it beforehand manually. You can actually set that as a setting within the quick battle screen. So these AT guns are going to be really, really important and crucial to the battle, because it's the only anti-tank weapons I have other than bazookas and anti-tank rifle grenades. That's another thing people were saying in the forum. They said that there was no rifle grenades. Well, that's false. There are rifle grenades in the game, and there's actually a few points during this mission where you're going to see them be fired. I was actually impressed by the design of the foxholes, because it accommodates like crew serve weapon teams. Like you saw a minute ago, that AT gun was, deployed amongst those foxholes, so that's pretty cool.
Take a look at that.
The plan is, if my right flank falters, I'm going to retreat into the town. I have that luxury because the forward tree line will conceal any withdrawal that I do.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be setting up some machine guns on the flanks, AT guns on the flanks to interdict any vehicles or concentrations of infantry. One thing to note is that the defender deploys first. And what that means is that the attacker will actually see some intelligence of where your positions are. And they can exploit that by bombarding those positions with artillery. So I'm going to be deploying 2 AT guns on the right flank here in the tree line, and I'm going to be deploying 1 on the left. The right flank is going to be the most vulnerable flank. It's also going to be the most critical flank. And I'm also going to leave some forward observers in this secondary tree line here. And if I had more foxholes, I'd probably create a second set of trenches there for fallback positions. Hopefully the forward observers in the second line of trees can call in artillery. All I have is 60mm mortars. I could have bought other additional artillery assets. I mean, you can even buy on-call artillery from battleships. And that costs a great deal of points. But it's incredibly powerful, so that's the trade-off.
Reload!
Yes, sir.
One other feature that is new to this engine is that you can actually transport self-propelled gun, or correction, you can transport guns using trucks, which may seem like a pedantic point, but no, there's nothing like that in Shock Force. So, deployed that infantry platoon and a couple AT guns and machine gun. I'm now going to deploy the second platoon. And this is going to be on a tree line on the west side of the town.
Listen up.
They're in pretty good defensive cover. They're also going to be entrenched. So, if I really wanted to have the ultimate entrenchment, I would buy trenches, but trenches are much more expensive, and I wouldn't be able to entrench the entire company if I bought trenches
Hold your positions.
due to the cost. Oh, and someone asked on the forums, or maybe it was on YouTube, they asked what was the weird orange color on the ground in the previous video, and you know, what is the blue color in this video and the green color. Those are just setup areas. They're not that's not like a graphical glitch or anything. That's just showing you where you can deploy your forces. And then the light green area is an objective area. So in this mission, I technically have to defend the town, this little village in the center. But it's a misnomer, and it's a very poor mistake, a common mistake of newbies, that in order to defend something, you have to be on top of it. That's not exactly true, and an ideal defense, or a good defense, is just about denying the enemy to an area, no matter how you do it. So, on this flank here, I'm going to put most of the platoon in the tree line, but I'm also going to have a few OPs out on some observation posts out on the perimeter. This platoon has a bazooka team. I'm going to put them in a little ambush position, reverse slope ambush position, across the way by the river. This way, if any vehicles try to cross that bridge, I'm going to be able to knock them out at close range with the bazooka. I'm also going to take one of the squads and have them in Overwatch on a hill overlooking the tree line, and that's for a fallback position. And that's more than, the importance of that position is more than just for that platoon, it's also for the entire company. Because that position essentially overwatches both flanks, and would be a good position to reconsolidate if the lines get crushed. Another setting that I have for this mission is that the Germans have a 40% bonus to their starting points, which means they're going to have substantially more support, substantially more units, and substantially more artillery. And I'm also the 3rd Rifle Platoon. I decided that I'm going to deploy on the west side of the river. They're going to be sort of there to delay any offensive that comes from that direction. And I'm going to I split the rifle squads into teams, and I'm spreading them from floor to floor, trying not to concentrate too many infantry in one spot. I'm also going to create an entrenched fighting position on the fringe of that little hamlet there. And they're going to be overwatching the fields. If the enemy tries to rush infantry across the field, they'll be able to engage them. Unfortunately, on the far western flank, I don't have an AT gun there, which was probably that was probably a tactical mistake on my part. Yeah, it's actually a pretty major tactical mistake, because I don't have any anti-tank over there. Now I'm going to deploy the mortars. I'm going to put them all the way to the northeast, behind Defilade. There's no need for them to be exposed to fire. And I'm going to make them face the suspected direction of enemy contact. This way, you know, it just cuts down on the few seconds it would take for them to move the mortar tube if a fire mission comes in. And I'm also leaving the weapons platoon leader there, the platoon leader. This way there's a radio link between the other officers and the mortars. Otherwise the mortars wouldn't be able to do fire missions, but they'd be out of radio contact. I think it would be pretty cool if you could have like a runner that would relay fire missions, but I guess that's too difficult to simulate. This entire time, I'm just trying to, you know, sight out some good positions for these defenses here. Platoon leader, the 3rd platoon, in the rear. This way, if the line's engaged, it doesn't falter if the platoon leader's hit. It's also good to create some distance. This way, the platoon leader can call in fire missions when he's not in distress. Because if your observer is distressed, in other words, if he's being fired upon or if his morale is low, the fire missions will suffer. They won't be as accurate. Also going to have a machine gun in the center by the town, and this is sort of going to initiate contact. It's also going to be there to suppress. It has the best overwatch, but it's also in a pretty exposed position. I didn't want to put my forces in the actual town because I know that they're going to bombard the town. So the most obvious spot for the enemy to attack would be the town. They're probably going to bombard it, destroy most of the town. So even though that position for the machine gun it's a great position, has great arcs, it's a great position to suppress enemy that are approaching from the north. I also don't want to put any more resources there and have them all be blown to pieces by artillery. There's no real good cover there. No overhead cover, at least. Also putting all the company's vehicles far to the rear because there's virtually no use for them, and all they're going to do is get kills. Cost me points in the victory screen. I'm going to have the company XO on the right flank. I'm also going to have the company CO. I put the company CO in a relatively safer position. And the battalion CO and the battalion XO are going to be in the back with the mortars. Bacon sandwiches and drinking coffee.
Hold your position.
Okay, so we're just about good to go. Just double checking everything now to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. What I'm trying to do here is I was going to use one of the platoon leaders as a forward observer inside the town because I thought that these buildings would have overwatch in the entire area, but the tree line in front of the buildings is just above the windows, and unfortunately you can't see anything from that position. So that pretty much rules that out. I'm expecting them to attack down that hill to the north. The idea is that when they skyline, the AT guns will knock out any armor, and then the infantry screen there in the tree line will do the rest. All three rifle platoons are in supportive positions of each other. The only one that is not supporting the others is the one that's exposed on the western flank. They're sort of out there in a delaying position, but the other two platoons fully support each other with arcs of fire. The only real weak spot in the defense right now is the center by the town itself, but I'm betting on my ability to relocate if need be.
Hold your position.
Incoming! Incoming! Take cover! Incoming!
Now our line's being shelled by the Germans. Unfortunately, this artillery is very accurate and just killed one of the AT guns, taking massive casualties across the line here. So I tell my forces to hide in their trenches. Get your heads down.
Incoming! Take cover!
Watch out.
Incoming! Take cover!
Now I spot the first enemy units on the forward slope of that hill. You can also hear them firing mortars from that position.
Pull back! Get down!
Watch out.
Take cover!
They're also deploying a smoke screen in front of the artillery, and they're also deploying a smoke screen on the western flank as well, which leads me to believe that they're about to assault, and they're probably going to assault the western flank as well. This is actually a good thing in my mind because, well, I wouldn't want to have that entire platoon deployed there and for I to have to, completely redeploy them because they were in the wrong position. So this artillery is continuing to land on the right flank, and this line is getting absolutely devastated. I can't really do anything about it. If I were to try to move them at this time, they'd take heavy casualties.
Watch out. Get down. Take cover now.
Take cover!
Looks like the barrage is mostly done, the enemy preparatory barrage, but I've lost about half of the platoon that was there, and also one AT gun. That's not good news for me, because it looks like their main attack is coming from that position. Now that the artillery is stopped, I tell my soldiers to put their heads up and start to scan for contacts. Those rounds that are landing there are smoke. Now the overwatching machine gun I have in the center is beginning to engage some enemy infantry as they're beginning to rush towards the river. Try to call in some mortars to suppress them.
Request fire mission, over. Fire mission, over.
Right now the enemy's maneuvering. They're behind the tree line mostly and unable to see them. I'm going to predict where they're going to be moving to, and I'm going to call in some mortars. Meanwhile, the western flank appears to be pretty quiet. Still don't know the size of this attack yet, because I've only seen a few infantry squads.
Check fire, check fire, check fire!
Now the enemy is starting to get this properly. Looks like there's a platoon plus running out in the open here, trying to cross the open fields. Meanwhile, some heavy machine gun teams are posted up on the ridge line, and they're trying to suppress my trenches there.
Request fire mission, over. Roger. Fire request, out.
As you can see here, the AI is pretty good at making a logical plan. I mean, this is all being done dynamically, being generated.
Shot, out.
They understand how to do like preparatory fires, and then they sort of have a pretty logical plan for attack using Overwatch, and pounding.
Stay down.
Shot.
Stay down.
Over. Shot. Out.
Enemy infantry ahead.
Mr. Dick! Get behind cover! Stay down! Keep your heads down!
Hit the dirt.
Enemy infantry ahead.
Shot.
Get down!
Over.
Take cover!
Shot. Out.
Watch out! Enemy unit!
Infantry approaching.
Shot. Over. Shot. Out.
Enemy infantry spotted.
Shot. Over.
Enemy infantry.
Shot. Out. West fire mission out. Shot. Over. Shot. Out.
This is what I was talking about before. I'll disregard that, because now the Tiger has arrived. So that's pretty that's pretty unfortunate news for me, because I have nothing that can defeat a Tiger. Not even the AT guns will be able to defeat it unless it hits it in the rear.
Shot.
Or something.
Over. Shot.
I'm gonna
Out.
have to hope that I can immobilize it and then sort of make it no longer a factor for the battle.
Fire for effect.
Now those mortars are finally being fired off.
Shot.
Anyway, this is what I was
Over.
talking about before when I
Shot.
said I wish I would have bought some mines, because there's only this one little point in the river where they can ford. Unfortunate that I didn't put some anti-personnel mines there. Really messed up the enemy's plan. So the enemy has achieved fire superiority. My forces are pretty badly suppressed, and they're almost up to the river now. And over here on the west flank, while I've been paying attention to that, I noticed that there's another infantry company attacking from this direction.
Enemy armor spotted.
And the enemy here is supported by that Tiger tank.
Shot. Over. Shot. Out.
like the enemy spent most of their points on buying that Tiger tank. I don't see any other vehicles, which I guess is a good thing. I mean, not really, it's still a Tiger tank, but... While that Tiger tank is overwatching, the enemy infantry company is assaulting a little hamlet there. My forces are returning fire, but they just can't put out enough fire to suppress the enemy. The one element that was really doing well in suppressing was that infantry squad by the field there, but they got blown apart by that Tiger tank. Now they're cowering in their trenches. Meanwhile, on the eastern flank there, my friendly forces are wavering and about to collapse.
Request fireman.
Try to call in some danger close mortar fire in order to repel the attack. The thing that's really serving the Germans well is the MQ-42s that they're firing. Those are suppressing the line, and then right charging up and bounding across. My forces are now pretty much hiding behind their trenches.
Request fire. Over.
Meanwhile, one enemy infantry squad has actually reached the trench line and are about 50 meters from it. The situation is just as dire here on the other flank, where enemy infantry are about 50 meters away from the buildings that I've garrisoned.
Infantry sighted.
The infantry squad that was out by the field surrendered.
Over. Shot out. Rush. Fire mission request. Out. Take cover.
I'm going to try to shift some of the forces that are on the right side of the line here to reoccupy some trenches that were abandoned. And the main reason why I'm doing that is because the enemy has crossed the river and is continuing to cross the river, and the right flank of the line is unable to overwatch that crossing. And right now, there's an unknown size enemy force heading through the town. I'm considering abandoning that line and then occupying the town.
Ow. Shot. Over. Shot. Out.
And then suddenly, heavy artillery begins to rain down on the right flank line. It's rockets and perhaps howitzers. And this line is now completely crumbling. I have to evacuate and withdraw from that line and then try to occupy the town before the enemy reaches it and captures it. My main tactical mistake of this mission was I underestimated the power of the infantry. I probably should have spread my forces out more.
Gunner.
There he is, gunner.
And also perhaps should have put some forces down. At least at least an OP.
Shot. Over.
So I know they're approaching it.
Shot. Out.
So I'm finally ordering the withdrawal here. It's a fairly safe exfiltration route. It's mostly obscured by the tree line,
Shot.
and
Over.
I shouldn't take too much fire.
Shot. Out. Shot. Over. Shot. Out.
The platoon that was extended out to the west is getting completely overrun now. Most of the platoon was KIA. The remnants of it are panicking and trying to retreat back towards the river. You can see here all the dead in the buildings. The Germans are within hand grenade range. Meanwhile, the platoon that's in Overwatch by the tree line, I now have odds of the Germans that are approaching. That's pretty much how I designed it. Meanwhile, the Tiger tank is now rolling across the open fields. The tank quickly outflanks the position of my anti-tank guns. Meanwhile, the remnants of the platoon on the right flank has managed to reorganize in the town, and the last elements of that platoon that are left outside of the town are now being ordered in. They were sort of dispersed by that artillery barrage, an enemy artillery barrage. It's a pretty bad situation. Luckily, the enemy forces that have crossed the bridge and are heading for the town are depleted, and they're also probably exhausted from charging about 700 meters across open ground while bounding and firing and fighting. So I have that to my advantage. My forces are relatively well rested. Even though they've been in contact, they haven't been jogging. We're now in contact with the town. The first enemy elements have reached the town, and some very close-range firefights are occurring. Luckily, this is a reverse slope defense, and the enemy has the skyline in order to attack into the town and take heavy casualties.
Los, los, los. Kämpft! Rückzug!
We see here that the Tiger tank is fording the river and is really outflanking my entire force. He's going behind my force and he's about to attack the mortars. Luckily, I left this anti-tank team in reserve in the rear. I'm going to unload the bazooka, which will virtually almost have no effect on the Tiger tank, but I can dream. I'm going to unload the bazooka from that Jeep and try to get them into an ambush position. They're in an ideal ambush position. All they need to do is get up on that Tiger without being spotted, and they might be able to immobilize it, put a shot to the tracks. Well, the enemy's drawing closer on both flanks. He's nearly approaching the town. time to put the mortar crews to work. As I'm moving the bazooka team to try to ambush that tiger, it gets spotted. The team gets spotted. At least I think it does. Might have been exploding artillery. Anyway, the mortar teams are going to go to work now. They're out of mortar ammunition, so I'm going to put them in a final line of defense, far to the rear, and hopefully they'll try to suppress any enemy forces that break through the line on the left.
Watch out. Enemy infantry.
There's too many of them.
Enemy infantry. Watch out.
Team that I had in ambush. I ordered to open fire on the enemy that are about to cross the river. Mission's about to end. The time is about to stop. I pretty much stalled the German attack on the left flank and on the right flank as well. The only real factor that can change the battle at this point is that tiger tank. But it's not going to be able to decisively impact the battle due to the time limit. Okay, so this is the after action report. This is pretty much the same as Shock Force, with one really cool new feature, and that is that it tells you what units have been killed by a specific unit. It's at the bottom left of the screen. It says exactly how many men they've killed. It also says that what vehicles they specifically killed. So if there was more vehicles in this mission or whatever, it would have said, you know, 1 time Sherman tank, 1 time Tiger tank, etc. in the kill list. So you can sort of track what element made the most damage to the enemy. It's really fun to overview what damage your forces have made. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time. See you next time. See you next time. See you next time.